I've planted about 2,000 trees, maybe more, closer to 3. First problem is to get this tree up at least this high so the deer doesn't browse off the top and take the top out of it. Once we get it 6 feet high, usually the tree will be okay. We found a number of ways to minimize the damage. One of them, the best one, was to hang a bar of soap on a tree, and we must have hung 1 million bars of soap out here. It worked for 20 years, and then the deer decided there's nothing wrong with soap, and they weren't queered by it anymore, and they started eating the trees with 3 bars of soap on them. Then the mice decided they really liked soap, so they'd crawl up the trees and eat the soap. The birds would come along and eat the soap. So it wore itself out. When we plant the tree, we put what's called a mouse guard on it. It's a piece of hardware cloth, and we wrap it around the tree when we plant it, because you could have a mouse come cruise around. If they find an apple tree, that's the end of it. Right now, the whole secret of growing apple trees is the day you plant it, you determine whether it's going to have a lot of problems or it's not going to have any problems. You can leave, these are called laterals. You can leave laterals that have a good, what's called a crotch angle, a good angle of attachment. They're strong. This crotch angle, you see how narrow that is? That's not a good angle. This has come off this winter. This will be cut off. And the other thing you do when you plant it, you don't leave more, maybe two branches, flat branches, because you want this part called the central leader to grow very fast. Well, if the root system is feeding 4 branches and the leader, the leader is going to grow very slowly. So you just want to grow a couple flat branches and get this leader to get most of the energy. And you cut the top of the tree down to about 30 inches. This was where it was cut the day it was planted, right here. You cut the top right out of it, and you would think, well, that's setting the tree back. Well, it's not setting the tree back. It's going to make it grow faster here. And this is a nice central leader, and you can see it's already out of reach of the deer. And this has been in the ground maybe 2 years. This one actually has a central leader. But you can see those branches that go up at that bad crotch angle? You want flat branches. You take a modern tree, and like up there, you see how the branches are flat instead of this 45-degree angle. Now you come in here, leave the tree, plant the tree next to it, plant another one over there. For every tree we take out, we plant two small trees where there was 1 large tree. So we plant these trees, and the beautiful part of it is the deer don't find them all the time because they're under a tree, and they do quite nicely growing under a tree. It's kind of hard to believe, but this tree will grow faster under an old tree than it will all by itself out in the open, and nobody knows why yet. This year we came out the day before Isabel, and with a whole load of these things. It's a 2x4 with a V cut in the end, and we had trees that were loaded down, they were leaning. And we came out here, I came out here actually, and bought these 2x4s, went up to the lumberyard, and we put them on the side that was leaning the worst, and pushed the tree up. So, that went right through the whole hurricane with no problems. Now, if it hadn't done it, we might have lost the whole tree. If the tree falls over, you can pull it back up, you can prop it, but it may not work. You got about a 50-50 chance. So many roots get smashed and broken when they fall over that it's very tricky. This is the most modern irrigation system in the world. It's called trickle irrigation, and we pump water down these lines. There are emitters. They're called emitters. You can buy them any place you want. You can buy them at every 24 inches, every 36 inches, every 40 inches. And the water is not under very high pressure, and the emitters just drip, and they're calibrated to drip so many gallons per 24 hours. It wasn't really possible to do this up until the Israelis invented this hose. These emitters are actually pressure neutral. In other words, the emitters at the top of this hill at maybe 20 pounds of pressure will give off the same amount of water in 24 hours as the emitters at the bottom of the hill, which might have 70 pounds of water pressure. So it was a wonderful invention. Most years you will run into a dry spell. You might get into a week of 10 days, very high temperatures, and you might find some trees are starting to wilt. And you can say to yourself, well, no sweat, I'll wait till it rains. It's going to rain tomorrow, or it's going to rain the end of the week, or it's going to rain next week. And then it doesn't rain. Now you have a deficit, water deficit. And a trickle irrigation system can't catch up with a water deficit system. It doesn't put enough water out. So you have to watch your trees and look at the weather reports, and you've got to make a decision. It was kind of smart of them to put an orchard here, because the land really won't make any money growing anything else. And it's quite astounding how little soil it takes to grow an apple tree. These trees right through here, you're probably about a foot to 18 inches of soil, and it's pure rock. And yet, with the trickle irrigation and a little care, that tree will still grow a nice crop of apples. We're at the northeast end of a gigantic prehistoric lake here. It covers maybe 9,000 acres. And we're at the northeast end. And if you right down here in our fields, there's organic soils that were formed by all the decaying matter that decayed down from a jungle-type ecology that was here for millions of years. Anyway, in the fall, we have a prevailing south wind, which is right down the middle of the black dirt. And it drags in a lot of moisture in the fall. We'll have a fog bank here some days till 10 o'clock. So we have like a mini climate. Now this keeps the apples cooler later in the day. They don't heat up with the morning sun as quickly. Now this might have something to do with the flavoring, I don't know. People have been telling, they told my grandfather, they told my father, and they told me, and we didn't take it too seriously that our apples tasted better than everybody else's. And then some years we'd run out of a certain variety. Say we ran out of Max one year. I'd go buy some Max from our neighbors, and our customers would tell us the following week, those are not your apples, are they, Mr. Soons? And we bought them. So after a while we became believers. So then we got thinking about why this orchard would grow apples that taste different than everybody else's, and we came up with this theory that this is a hard-ass piece of ground here. And these trees suffer and struggle to grow in it. And we suffer and struggle to take care of it with all these steep inclines and bedrock sticking out of the ground. And so the trees have a tough time of it. And if you follow the same theory that the grape growers have, that a grape vineyard that suffers will have superior wine. That's why you have these areas in France that grow wine at $75 a bottle. They don't get many grapes off of that piece of land because it's so miserable, but those grapes have a lot of character.